Hello, it's Brenda Wood, and today we are going to do an episode of Things by Brent on overcoming challenges. And today we have Carmen Restivo. I have known Carmen since I was 13 years old. We were just talking about that. And he has got some medical challenges, and he doesn't let them stop him. So, Carmen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what's wrong with you, and just some of the challenges that you've overcome with this issue?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was born with club feet, scoliosis, sacral agenesis. That's where your pelvic bones don't fuse properly, and a tethered spinal cord.
Mm.
And before I was 4, I had 6 surgeries on my feet to correct the club feet so I could walk. And when I was 12, I had 2 surgeries on my back to kind of support my pelvic bones and my spine. And then I had a tumor removed from my spinal cord when I was 30. So
You also had a little bit more than that. Weren't you in a body cast as a child?
well, after the surgeries when I was 12, they put me in a body cast for a year because they wanted it was a unique operation. Every doctor I've seen has said it was something they would have never thought of. They went in and they took the lower ribs off and used those to
Sawed
support
them off?
Yes, they completely sawed off my lower ribs, so I'm missing a rib on each side. And they used those to support my pelvic bones and spinal cord all together. And while those were healing, they put me in a body cast because they didn't want me bending or stretching or anything.
Wow.
So,
What was that like being in a body cast?
it had its issues.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say.
And you were old enough to remember it.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't sit for a year. I could stand and lay down. That was it.
Wow.
So it was it was interesting. Eating and going to the bathroom are the 2 most interesting things.
I bet. Now I know a little bit about that, but we'll probably ask you to tell it too. But you overcome that. You had challenges, I'm sure, in school. Driving is one of them. Talk to us about what you have to do to your car so you can drive. And then why don't you tell us how tall you are first?
I'm 4'4".
Okay. And is that due to the issues that you were born with?
Yes, I have my arms and my legs are normal length, but my torso is about 60% of what it should be.
Oh, okay.
So just think I have all the adult organs compressed in the 60% of the space.
Ouch.
Yeah, so my stomach, my liver, my intestines, bladder, they all share the same space pretty much. So it's not like they can all be full at the same time.
Right. Right.
So,
And you have to do something to your vehicles, especially back when they didn't have pedals that raised like they do now. So
yeah.
talk to me about how you would have to fit a vehicle to drive.
Well, even today, still, I have extenders that I clamp onto the pedals, and I sit on a seat cushion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gotten a lot better because when I first learned to drive when I was 16 back in, what was that, 83,
mm-hmm.
they didn't make pedal extenders. It wasn't, I had to have custom made ones and they weren't very good. But now I've got, you can buy them on Amazon now.
Oh, wow.
And that's actually the ones that I currently have on my car. I bought
They
from
make
Amazon.
your life a little bit easier.
Actually, they make the only problem is putting them on.
Mm-hmm.
It's time consuming. It can take 2 or 3 hours to get them on just right. The brake pedal goes on easy. It's the gas pedal that's the problem because you have to adjust it. I take the car for a drive, come back, have to adjust it. Brake pedals you don't have to adjust, but the gas pedals you constantly have to adjust until you get it just right. Yeah, because I have short feet too. I wear a youth size 4.5.
Wow.
So I have to have the pedal down far enough where I can reach it with my toe. And that's what the adjusting is. I have to get it in just the right position. So when I push on it, actually pushes the gas pedal down.
Right. Right. But this is the only way you've known how to drive. So
yeah, I've never known anything different. So to me, it's not a big deal.
So how does this affect your walking?
Well, it didn't, it affected it all my life. But since the tumor, now I have to walk with a cane. And when I have really bad days, I use a walker.
So talk to us about the tumor. You had a tumor inside the spinal cord, and your spinal cord was tethered?
Well, my spinal cord's tethered. That's where
Hmm.
most people have a single cord that comes down and ends right where their tailbone is. What mine is mine's more like a Y, and they're wrapped around each other, and then they kind of get stuck.
Mm.
So the tethering is when it gets stuck, and it feel when it. The easiest way to explain the way it feels is it feels like somebody's sticking hot needles in your spinal cord running down your legs when you have when I get a tethered feeling, and it's
And
very difficult to get
where was the
around.
tumor?
The tumor was right at the lumbar. It was between the spinal cord and the spinal column. So it was pressing my spinal cord down and made me lose a lot of sensation in my legs. And actually, right there before I had the surgery, I had almost lost the ability to walk.
Mm. I
And
know it was pretty rough there for a little bit. I
yeah,
actually knew Carmen when he was going through this. Didn't know him during the body cast, but it wasn't too long after that that I did. And he was had a very good surgeon. They told us that they didn't know if he was going to be able to walk when he came out of it, because you never know what's going to happen when you're messing with a spinal cord. And then we didn't know if the tumor was going to be cancerous or benign, or what kind of damage it had done. So talk to us a little bit about that surgery and the tumor and what the
yeah.
doctors actually had to do.
Well, my doctor went in, and it was a scheduled 4 hour surgery, turned into 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
He went in, and the tumor turned out to be about the size of a Vienna sausage.
Ooh, that's a good size.
Yeah. And they went in and they sliced a piece off, sent it to uh, pathology right away. And then he went in with micro instruments and just kept cutting it off, cutting it out, cutting it out, making sure not to damage any nerves or nerve endings. He actually had uh, all kinds of things attached to me. So he knew when he hit a nerve, it would send out the sensors would read it and that. And when he actually was in there and he got the tumor removed, and before he closed me up, they went in and they found out that it was non-cancerous. It was a schwannoma, which is just pretty much a fatty tumor. And
Which was good news.
yeah, that was very good news. And he actually went in and he was trying to untether my spinal cord, which would have been a huge help. But he said every time he went to untether it, it made my legs spasm. So he didn't want to, he
It's
said,
better to leave it alone.
yeah, he exactly said it was better to leave it alone and hope for the best that the tumor didn't do any permanent damage. So it did, I'd have to say it did a little bit of permanent damage, because before the tumor, I walked without assistance. Now I always have to use a cane.
So
So
you're walking with something regardless.
yes,
And you
yeah.
also have to use a catheter that you didn't have to necessarily use before.
That actually wasn't related to the tumor, I
Oh,
found out.
really? Okay.
I
That's,
have,
I guess, okay.
yeah, I actually found out, uh, my urologist said I was born with what does he call it? A neurogenic bladder.
What
It
is that?
doesn't know, it doesn't, in simple terms, is it doesn't know what it's doing.
Okay.
So you actually, like when most people go to the bathroom, they can just, say, think about it, and they go.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I think about it, doesn't necessarily get anything's going to happen. So that's why I would always, even as a kid, I would always have to push to urinate. And I never understood that. And neither did my parents.
Right.
And then I thought that, my bladder problems were related to the spinal injury.
I did
But
too when we had
yeah,
spoken. Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years after the spinal surgery that my urologist really figured out what I had. And he said it was just that I have a flaccid neurogenic bladder.
And it probably gets worse with age.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is what
Just
was
like
happening. Mm-hmm.
yeah, just like my spine, my mobility is always going to get worse with age. My
Mhm.
last neurosurgeon has said, don't do anything unless you absolutely need to, but you're definitely going to degrade. Your mobility is going to degrade with age.
Yeah.
And funny thing is, I've outlived my last neurosurgeon. He had a coronary about 3 years ago and passed
Oh my
away.
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and one thing about Carmen is he's always had a job. He doesn't try to play the system for money. He doesn't try to boo-hoo about it. He gets up, he works. And I have known this about him since he was a teenager. And tell us a little bit about what what you have to do with your job and your medical situation, and you're able to work from home a little bit, and just talk to us about how it limits work.
Well, now it doesn't limit me at all because three
Good.
years ago, my boss told me he wanted me to work from home. And I was working in the office 4 days a week, and then it was 3 days a week and working from home 2 days a week. And it really didn't bother me. But our company grew faster than he expected, and I have to have a private office because I make important phone calls and
Right.
what I do. I have to talk, and I have to be able to close the door and talk about things. And turned out he needed my office. So he said, well, you can do everything you need from home. So he sent me to work from home and put 3 people in my office.
And that worked. That happened before COVID, so you were
Oh yeah, that
already at
was,
home when this happened.
yeah, October 2017.
Hmm. Okay.
So, but yeah, I've worked all my life. Even when I was a teenager, my best friend back then, before I even met you, a good friend of mine, we had a lawn mowing service on the base,
Hmm.
and
I remember you telling us stories. Hmm.
we mowed just about everybody in the neighborhood's house, yard. I house sat, I babysat. That's
Hmm.
Mom says that's why I never wanted kids, was because I babysat all the worst kids.
You did. You also had to babysit me in different ways.
Yeah,
We won't talk about that.
yeah, but that was fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
Carmen got to do a lot of chauffeuring as well, and he's always been there for people. He doesn't play the woe is me card, and I am very proud of him for that. I'm very proud of him, even at the age that he is now, that he's still working and he's still trying to make an honest living, and doing a good job. Every employer that's ever employed Carmen has had nothing but good things to say about him.
well, thank you. Yeah, in if you we want to get really technical about it, I'm living on borrowed time because when I was born, the doctors told my mom and dad that I probably wouldn't live past adolescence. I'd be, the term they used back then, retarded, and they suggested putting me in a home.
Right.
And
Your
mom
mother was
said
not
no.
going to have that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
mom was like, hell no.
Good for her. She told us
And
that she used to, when she put you out to go to school, it was literally like putting you out, that she'd have to lock the door and sit on the other side and she'd just cry.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
you, di- you didn't want to go, but she was forcing you. So I think your mom has a lot to do with your mindset today.
well, mom is everything of why what I am today,
Hmm.
why I'm independent. She forced me to be independent. She forced me, well, I don't want to say forced. She ingrained it in me that being independent is the best way to be. And, do things for yourself, do things for
Right.
others. You know, uh, I've always been the guy that when I had a girlfriend, I'd open the car door, I'd open the front
Mhm.
door. That was just,
It's what you do.
it's
There's
yes, sir,
there's
no,
nothing
sir. That's
wrong
how I
with
was
that.
raised.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that I mean I'm all for equal rights, but I also like to be taken care of as a woman.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, and even guys like to be taken care of at
Sure they
times.
do. Absolutely. My husband can tell you he's taken care of. It's what you do in a marriage. You take care of each other.
Yeah.
You look after each other. You do things for them, and it's just an unspoken thing. When you love somebody, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And so you're working from home. You say you're living on borrowed time. What thoughts go through your mind when you've seen that you have kind of defied all odds on that?
I don't think of it that way. I really don't. I just live each day. It's
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I don't ever, I don't want to say I'm not afraid of death. It's more like, okay, when it happens, it's going to happen. I mean, we all die.
Right. Can't change it.
Yeah. I mean, we all have an expiration date. And to me, it's just going to be the next great adventure. So when it happens, it happens. And if you live, if you live afraid of death and dying, you're not going to ever live.
No, you're not.
And
What would you say your quality of life is like?
well, for me, it's fine. I mean, I don't, when I was younger, I used to go hit the bars and hit the clubs. I mean, God, mom could tell you, I'd come in the morning when she's going out to work. I was, in my early 20s, still living at home. So it's not like I didn't do everything. I had fine quality of life. Even now, if I want to go out and do things, I can. It's just that it doesn't interest me anymore.
Right.
I prefer to sit at home, do work, Netflix and chill.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. And we
Yeah,
discussed pets. You don't have any pets
no,
because you do have some downtime. And
yeah.
when I say downtime, it's due to you now have something called Meniere's. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Meniere's is a inner ear brain imbalance, so to speak. I have a very minor case of Meniere's. Some people have it really, really bad. And it's Meniere's is the lack of diagnosis.
Mm,
They'll send you for testing for everything else. And when every test comes back and says, you don't have this, you don't have that, then they say it's probably Meniere's. Like classic Meniere's is you have more hearing loss in one ear than the other, constant ringing in your ear. Like my left ear, I have constant ringing 24/7.
that would drive me nuts.
And that's why I can't be in a real, like if I'm in a silent room, it just drives me nuts. So when I go to sleep, I have a radio playing all night long. So, but I get attacks where the easiest way to explain it is imagine being drunk, hungover, and on a boat, seasick
Mm,
and airsick all at the same time.
that would be horrible.
Yeah. So you're
So it
laying in
limits
bed.
your ability to travel.
Well, for me, I have one of I don't have it very bad, but I also have one of the oddest, so to speak, Meniere's. It's rare that altitude bothers me. So my doctor has said that probably going anywhere over 4,000 or 5,000 feet in altitude will risk losing more hearing.
Hmm.
So I can't fly.
Right.
And, if I want to travel across country, I have to make sure I'm not going over any mountains that are more than 4,000 or 5,000 feet high.
Well, in cross country, you run into a lot of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If I stay to the south, I could do it because there's not too many mountains in the south. But
Right. Right. But
and
Carmen's in Florida, so pretty much wherever he travels to, he's going to run into some higher elevations.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
where I live, we are 33 feet above sea level.
Hmm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So we're pretty close to sea level.
So you were told that you're not going to make it probably past adolescence. How old are you now?
I'll be 55 this July.
So you have well made it past.
Oh yeah. And I don't fault those doctors. They looked at me and I had excuse me. I had issues that they'd never seen before.
Right. You were the first for a lot of this, wasn't it? With the surgery, with the sawing off the ribs.
The surgery that they did where they removed my lower ribs, it was the first of its kind. I'm supposed to be written up in some medical journals somewhere.
Well, I'm sure you are. Mhm. You were at Walter Reed or a different?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
I spent 6 months at Walter Reed. Excuse me. My sinuses are killing me.
I think we're all fighting that. Thank goodness
Yeah.
for medication.
Yeah. But yeah, I spent 6 months in Walter Reed, and that's where they did the surgeries. They did each side separately, 30 days apart.
Oh, goodness. And do you have scars?
Oh God, do I have scars? My feet, my back, my sides.
All over the place.
if my if it wasn't so expensive, I always thought it would be kind of neat to get a zipper tattooed on my back scar because it's about 13 inches long, right down the center of my
Oh,
back.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. They're kind of cool.
I thought it would be kind of neat, but
Well, you have your own zipper.
yeah.
Well, Carmen, if there's anything you can tell the public, people that are watching about overcoming challenges, what would it be?
If somebody tells you that you can't do something, try. You know, it doesn't hurt to try.
That's right.
I mean, the worst you can do is fail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You're no worse off than where you were.
exactly?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you have to be able to understand your limitations, but push past them and try different things. You don't know where your actual limitation is until you get there.
That's true. And then you have to
So
learn to work around that or with that to achieve where you want to go.
exactly, you do like I did. You adjust the world to suit you.
Mm-hmm. Very well
I
said.
like the desk I'm sitting at right now. Your standard desk for me is too high.
Right.
So I bought some short file cabinets, and my stepdad made me a nice wood top for them, and I put put that on there. I have a nice desk, the perfect height for me.
That's right. And I asked you about your chair earlier. Talk to us about your chair.
Well, it's just any gaming chair you can buy
Right.
online, but it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And because I sit, what I do for a living, I sit. I analyze data and I sit. So I wanted something comfortable, and I know gamers sit for hours on end.
Right.
So
Right.
I figured, hey, a gaming chair ought to be perfect.
And it works for you. It
Yes,
works for you. Well,
you know,
good.
and I've adapted where I can. You know what I do. You know, uh,
And I think you've done very well at it. Very well at it.
yeah,
Well,
you know,
thank you very much for joining us today, Carmen, and sharing your medical issues. Not too many people want to talk about it, and
yeah,
you know if it can help others, if they can get in contact with you, if they've got something similar they want to talk about, is it okay for me to give me your Facebook information or something like that?
sure, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Carmen. I appreciate the interview and thank you for taking your time out to do it.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.